This girl was on her way home when she suddenly saw a young man sitting unconscious on the side of the road. Out of kindness, she took the young man home. Then she kindly treated his wound. But when the girl took off the young man's shirt, her six-pack abs made the girl swallow her saliva. She looked up at the young man's face. Her cheeks suddenly turned red. After treating the young man's wound, the girl was about to leave when he suddenly grabbed her hand. The girl couldn't bear to push his hand away, so she had to sit next to him. However, drowsiness also came. The girl was about to pull her hand away. Unexpectedly, the young man held her hand even tighter. In the end, she couldn't hold back her drowsiness anymore. She collapsed next to him and fell asleep. Early the next morning, the young man woke up. He saw a strange girl lying next to him, still holding his hand tightly. He tried to sit up and change his clothes. Then he called his secretary. He left his contact information for the girl and left. Unfortunately, the business card he left behind was accidentally dropped into the trash by the cat. That boy was the CEO of LK Group. His name was Kang Hoon. When Kang Hoon was only 5 years old, he appeared in a world-famous financial newspaper. By the time he was 31, he had become a talented young president. Almost all the girls who saw him immediately loved him. The girl who saved Kang Hoon was Yoon So. She was always busy with work at her veterinary clinic. When she attended the class reunion, she was also laughed at by her classmates because of her rustic appearance. But no one could have imagined that she would later become the president's wife that everyone admired. After returning to the company, Kang Hoon always waited for Yoon So to contact him. However, he waited for several days without hearing from her. Meanwhile, Yoon So was blaming Kang Hoon because even though she tried her best to save him, she still didn't receive any thanks before he left. A customer came to see a pet at Yoon So's workplace. She suggested introducing a blind date to Yoon So. The customer asked Yoon So about Yoon So's ideal type of man. Yoon So didn't hesitate to list her criteria. Yoon So said she wanted a man over 1.80 m tall, with tanned skin and firm abs. Yoon So also said that the man might be a little annoying, but his voice must be nice. In general, he was the type of man who was always charming. Hearing Yoon So's request, the customer just smiled awkwardly and quickly left. When going out, the new customer dared to speak out his thoughts, that with such high standards, Yoon So might have to wait until she's old to find the right person. In fact, Yoon So in the clinic was also finding it ridiculous with the requirements she set. In this countryside, no one could meet such requirements. When Yoon So thought of the ideal boyfriend she had just made up, she suddenly remembered Kang Hoon's body. She wondered how his injury was now. Meanwhile, the secretary had found information about Yoon So to report to Kang Hoon. The secretary said that because of opening the veterinary clinic, Yoon So was in a huge debt. The secretary reminded Kang Hoon that if he paid her a large sum of money to thank her for saving her life, she would remember him with a rare, touching story. However, Kang Hoon still arrogantly waited for Yoon So to come to him herself. He guessed that she would come here soon, and she would ask for a sum of money because she saved him. However, he waited for a long time, but still did not see her contact him, so he decided to go find her. This decision made the secretary extremely surprised. The secretary did not expect the arrogant president to lower himself like that. Kang Hoon explained that if you owe someone, you must pay it back. When Kang Hoon drove to Yoon So's veterinary clinic, he saw her apologizing to the customer because she did not accept to bathe the dog. He suddenly smiled. Kang Hoon could not help but pick up his phone to secretly take a picture of that bright smile. This was his first time here, but he did not go in to talk to Yoon So and decided to leave. The next day, he went to find her again at the veterinary clinic but did not see her open the door. When he was about to leave, he saw her cycling to the clinic. As soon as Yoon So saw Kang Hoon, she immediately recognized him as the person she had saved the day before. The two entered the clinic and started talking. Kang Hoon asked Yoon So to lock up her lovely cat because he couldn't stand the sight of cat hair flying all over him. Hearing this, Yoon So didn't hesitate to ask him out because she didn't ask him to come here. Kang Hoon stepped forward and said that he couldn't stand the feeling of being indebted. He then asked her how much it cost to save his life. He also wondered why Yoon So hadn't contacted him. Yoon So replied that she didn't know who he was, so she couldn't contact him. Only then did Kang Hoon realize that the contact information he left behind hadn't reached her. He then received a bill for 700,000 won in medical bills. Looking at the bill in Kang Hoon's hand, he couldn't help but be surprised. Kang Hoon asked Yoon So if she had made a mistake. Yoon So thought the price she offered was too high, so she quickly explained that she didn't have insurance and that she was a conscientious veterinarian. However, Kang Hoon felt offended. He thought that the price to save a president like him could not be only 700,000 won, so he asked her to rewrite the amount. At the same time, he was also curious whether Yoon So was really a person without greed or just pretending. At this moment, Kang Hoon saw the cat cat and told her to quickly lock it up. Yoon-seo helplessly stood up to lock up the cat, but she accidentally stepped on the cat's toy ball. She slipped and accidentally leaned her arm on his shoulder. The moment facing Kang-hoon made Yoon-seo shy. She stood up and said that he would pay any amount. So Kang-hoon decided to give Yoon-seo $1 million veterinary hospital. But when Kang-hoon took Yoon-seo to see the new veterinary hospital, she flatly refused. Yoon-seo told him that her current veterinary clinic was her whole life. Although she was still paying off the debt, she still liked her small clinic better. For the first time in her life, being rejected by someone else made Kang-hoon extremely angry. He was determined to force Yoon-seo to accept the veterinary hospital he gave her. That day, while Yoon-seo was working, the landlord came to inform her that the building owner was now someone else. The new landlord would demolish this building to build a new one. Soon after, Yoon-seo received a phone call from Kang-hoon. It turned out that he was the one who bought this building. He informed her that he would demolish it next week, so she had to move out immediately. When she heard Kang-hoon say that, Yoon-seo couldn't help but get angry. She refused to give in and decided to go everywhere to look for a new room. Unfortunately, the amount of money she had in hand was too little, so she couldn't find a house that she liked. Yoon-seo went to the bank to borrow money, but unexpectedly, the staff informed her that they could not lend her anymore. The fact that Yoon-seo went to find a room and borrow money from the bank was captured by Kang-hoon's secretary and reported to Kang-hoon. It turned out that Kang-hoon had also worked with the bank to make them refuse her loan. Kang-hoon wanted her to accept the veterinary hospital that Kang-hoon had prepared for her. The next morning, Kang-hoon ordered a group of people to go to her veterinary clinic. They informed her that the place was about to be demolished, and they asked her to immediately pack up and leave. When Kang-hoon heard Yoon-seo and the group of workers arguing, his mood became even better. Kang-hoon then called and asked the group of workers to withdraw. Yoon-seo was extremely angry. She went to Kang-hoon's company. She used her bag to hit him repeatedly. Finally, because she was so upset, she burst into tears. She didn't understand what she did wrong that he had to pressure her to such an extent. Kang-hoon calmly said that she should accept his revenge. Yoon-seo stood up and grabbed Kang-hoon's tie. She warned him that if he ever played with her again, she wouldn't leave him alone. Then she didn't forget to show her strength by stepping on his foot. Unexpectedly, Kang-hoon quickly withdrew his foot. Yoon-seo lost her balance and almost fell. Luckily, Kang-hoon quickly caught her and hugged her. Yoon-seo struggled, wanting Kang-hoon to let go of her, but Kang-hoon stepped forward, grabbed her hand tightly, and asked her to calm down. When she calmed down, he would let her go. With no other choice, Yoon-seo pretended to listen. Then she wrote her account on a sticky note and stuck it on his shirt. She declared that she would leave the building in a week. She asked him to transfer the deposit to her account. Seeing that his plan had succeeded, Kang-hoon was so happy that he couldn't stop laughing. Kang-hoon also didn't forget to look at the shoe that Yoon-seo had stepped on. At this time, Yoon-seo went to her best friend to confide in her suffering. Her best friend gave Yoon-seo an envelope of money. Just consider it as her investment in Yoon-seo, and she would receive interest every year. At this time, an old classmate named Mu-ra also accidentally came to this shop. Mu-ra had always looked down on Yoon-seo. As soon as she sat down, Mu-ra immediately sarcastically said to Yoon-seo that Yoon-seo should stay in the countryside to herd cows. Why did Yoon-seo go to the city and then have to borrow money? Mu-ra also deliberately asked why Yoon-seo was old but not married. When told that, Yoon-seo was extremely angry, so when Kang-hoon called, Yoon-seo flatly refused his call. Kang-hoon was equally annoyed when his call was rejected. He immediately texted her and announced that he would demolish the building tomorrow. Yoon-seo was feeling frustrated because her old friend kept putting her down. When Yoon-seo received more messages from Kang-hoon, Yoon-seo became even more frustrated. Yoon-seo immediately refuted Mu-ra that she was moving back to Seoul. At the same time, Yoon-seo told Mu-ra to remember to send flowers to congratulate her on the opening day. As soon as Yoon-seo finished speaking, Mu-ra could not argue. Yoon-seo felt really satisfied. However, later Yoon-seo realized that she had slipped up, so she had to go meet Kang-hoon to negotiate. Kang-hoon saw Yoon-seo coming to him and immediately asked if she had changed her mind. Yoon-seo told Kang-hoon that the price for saving him the other day could increase from 700,000 won to 70 million won. She will consider it as the money to open the veterinary hospital. Subtract the 700,000 won, and she will pay him back gradually. Consider it as her borrowing money from him to open this hospital instead of borrowing from the bank. From the beginning, Yoon-seo had no intention of taking Kang-hoon's money, so the two of them were considered business partners. Kang-hoon could only agree with what Yoon-seo said. At the same time, Kang-hoon did not forget to shake her hand to confirm the cooperation, but Kang-hoon's eyes were like those of a wolf that had just caught a rabbit. The next day, Yoon-seo started cleaning the new veterinary hospital. She decorated everything in the hospital herself. After many days of hard work, everything was finally completed. She immediately took a selfie at her new veterinary hospital. That night, after work, Kang-hoon went to the hospital. He saw Yoon-seo tired and fell asleep, so he could not take his eyes off her. Kang-hoon leaned closer to observe her. Suddenly, Yoon-seo opened her eyes, startling him. Unexpectedly, she was still not fully awake, so she thought she was dreaming. She reached out to pinch his cheek and complimented him on how smooth his skin was. Kang-hoon immediately told her in a stern voice to take her hand off his face. This startled Yoon-seo out of her dream. He asked her why she was sleeping in this hospital instead of going home. Yoon-seo angrily replied that because of him, she now had no home to sleep in. Moreover, she had a lot of things to worry about, so she couldn't spend lavishly. Hearing that, Kang-hoon wondered even more why she didn't accept his help. Yoon-seo explained that she just wanted to have enough money to live. He criticized the room she was planning to rent as being too small. He told her that there was a bigger and cheaper place for rent. Yoon-seo curiously asked where it was. Kang-hoon didn't hide it and said that it was his house, with many more rooms. Before that good intention, Yoon-seo could only exclaim that he was crazy. The next day, when Kang-hoon was still upset about being called crazy, the secretary came in and gave him a list of girls. It turned out that his mother forced him to go on blind dates with 3 beautiful and successful girls every month. This would last until he found a suitable partner. On the day Yoon-seo opened the veterinary hospital, Kang-hoon had a meeting so he could not attend. He sent his secretary to bring flowers to congratulate her and pass on his lunch invitation to her. However, Yoon-seo asked his secretary to help clean up. The secretary also prayed with her to the god of fortune to help her earn a lot of money from this clinic. At lunchtime, the two ordered black bean noodles to eat together. On this side, Kang-hoon was waiting for Yoon-seo alone at the restaurant. After finishing work, the two sat on the sofa enjoying delicious spicy noodles. They did not realize when Kang-hoon had arrived. Kang-hoon called out the secretary's name loudly and asked what he was doing here. The secretary was so startled that she almost choked. The secretary quickly picked up her coat and ran away. Kang-hoon pulled out a chair and sat down next to Yoon-seo. Kang-hoon's stomach suddenly growled, making Yoon-seo laugh. She gave Kang-hoon chopsticks and invited him to eat with her. Kang-hoon said that he didn't eat this kind of food, but since she invited him, he would eat to make her happy. Kang-hoon then picked up a piece of chicken foot and dipped it in soy sauce. When he put it in his mouth, Kang-hoon's expression changed. This was the first time Kang-hoon had tasted this flavor. At this moment, a young man entered the clinic. The young man asked who Kang-hoon was. Kang-hoon also asked who this young man was. The young man replied that he was Yoon-seo's friend and business partner. Kang-hoon was not very happy to hear that. When he got back to his room, Kang-hoon was about to text Yoon-seo to ask about the guy from noon. But then Kang-hoon remembered something important, so he decided not to send the message anymore. Mu-ra knew that Yoon-seo had opened a veterinary hospital, so Mu-ra immediately invited her friends to meet Yoon-seo under the pretext of congratulating her. But when they arrived, Mu-ra deliberately asked Yoon-seo to treat everyone to a meal. Yoon-seo was provoked, so she immediately agreed. But when Yoon-seo opened the menu to look, she couldn't help but worry because of the expensive prices of the dishes. At this moment, the waiter brought a bottle of wine. The waiter announced that the gentleman at the next table had given them this bottle of wine. When Yoon-seo looked in the direction of the waiter's hand, she discovered that the gentleman was none other than Kang-hoon. So she quickly covered her face behind the menu and pretended not to know Kang-hoon. But Kang-hoon didn't let Yoon-seo do that. Kang-hoon immediately told the waiter to continue bringing food to Yoon-seo's table. Meanwhile, Mu-ra had the illusion that because she was beautiful, she would encounter this kind of thing wherever she went. Then, Yoon-seo took the opportunity to go to the bathroom to text Kang-hoon. When Kang-hoon passed by Yoon-seo's table, he accidentally heard the two of them talking badly about her. When Kang-hoon came to talk to Yoon-seo privately, she blamed him for following her, asked him to stay away from her, and she also hoped he wouldn't think of her like the other girls he had met. When Yoon-seo went to pay, the waiter said that the bill was more than 600,000 won. Yoon-seo felt heartbroken when she showed her card, but the waiter said said that someone had already paid for her. When Yoon-seo just reached the gate, Kang-hoon was already waiting for her outside. Kang-hoon wanted to take her back to the clinic. Several friends were surprised to see such a handsome guy wanting to take Yoon-seo home. The best friend quickly pushed Yoon-seo away and encouraged Yoon-seo to go with Kang-hoon. Kang-hoon's actions made Yoon-seo extremely angry. On the way back, Kang-hoon told Yoon-seo that it was best for her not to meet such selfish friends anymore. Instead of meeting them, Yoon-seo should go see him, so she wouldn't have to continue to endure unhappy things. Kang-hoon then made a suggestion that he wanted her to become his lover. However, when she heard that, Yoon-seo got angry and stood up and left. Kang-hoon quickly chased after her to pull her back. She intended to kick him but was counterattacked. She became even angrier. She questioned him whether it was because she was vulnerable that he wanted her to become a tool to serve him. After saying that, she decided to leave. However, Kang-hoon still persistently followed behind and continued to ask her to be his girlfriend, but Yoon-seo once again refused. How could her first love become a part of Kang-hoon's play? Hearing this, Kang-hoon asked if she had never loved anyone before. Yoon-seo quickly defended herself by saying that she was already 30 years old, so there was no way she had never been in love. Kang-hoon immediately said that he had actually been dreaming about her often recently. He had never seen a girl as interesting as her. That's why he wanted to be her boyfriend. Kang-hoon saw Yoon-seo's face turn red, so he immediately affirmed that his test was successful. That meant he knew that Yoon-seo was lying. She had never been in love before, so she was easily moved by men. Yoon-seo was angry and gave him a hard slap. Kang-hoon's words reminded Yoon-seo of her college days. At that time, she also agreed to date a boyfriend named Sang-hyun. However, a friend was jealous of Yoon-seo. She said that Sang-hyun was nice to Yoon-seo only because she pitied Yoon-seo. Hearing these words, Yoon-seo dropped the bouquet of flowers in her hand. At the same time, Yoon-seo also ended her unfinished love affair. Now Yoon-seo also wanted to have a serious relationship. That night, Yoon-seo went to her best friend's place to register for dancing lessons. Her best friend began to question Yoon-seo about Kang-hoon. She asked Yoon-seo if she was hesitant between her current boyfriend and her previous boyfriend. Yoon-seo told her best friend to write romance novels. Then, Yoon-seo asked Sang-hyun to teach her to dance. When Yoon-seo held Sang-hyun's hand to start the first dance steps, she wondered why her heart wasn't beating as fast as when she was standing next to Kang-hoon. Before she could start, Yoon-seo received a phone call. The caller was Kang-hoon. Yoon-seo's heart beat faster again. Yoon-seo's face turned red. Kang-hoon asked Yoon-seo if she had thought about what he had told her this morning. He wanted to hear her answer. Yoon-seo quickly said that she was very busy and hung up. After that, Yoon-seo went out to drink beer with everyone and get to know each other. Everyone asked Yoon-seo why she went to dance class. Yoon-seo honestly said that she wanted to cure herself. Every time she was around a man, she always felt tense. Her face turned red, and her body felt like it was losing strength. She felt numb when she was with that person. Seeing everyone looking at her, Yoon-seo hurriedly explained that she was taking dance lessons to lose weight. The next day, Kang-hoon went to the hospital to see Yoon-seo. Kang-hoon told Yoon-seo that as long as she became his girlfriend within 3 months, and she helped him deal with his mother about the blind date, this hospital would become hers. From now on, she won't have to pay him interest every month anymore. Being his girlfriend for 3 months won't cost her anything. He suggested they try it once, and they would make a proper love contract. So Yoon-seo finally signed a contract to be Kang-hoon's girlfriend. That day, under the witness of the secretary, the two decided to sign the contract. The contract required the two to make everyone around them believe that they truly loved each other, and they had to work seriously. The two had to meet every day. Party A had to listen to Party B's arrangements, and when Party B requested, Party A had to be present. The most important thing was that Party A was absolutely not allowed to meet any other man other than Party B. Perhaps the appearance of her ex-lover Sang-hyun made Kang-hoon worried. After confirming the contract, the two signed their names on it. Under the witness of the secretary, they officially became lovers by contract. The secretary saw the two people's unfriendly expressions towards each other, so he gently reminded them, now that the two of them had become lovers, they should smile at each other. But the secretary just helplessly laughed alone as the two of them sat motionless. The first day of the love contract took place. The two of them did their own daily work. When they had free time, they went out for coffee. Then each of them enjoyed lunch alone. When it was time to get off work, Kang-hoon asked the female assistant what couples usually did. The female assistant didn't understand, so she looked at the secretary. Then the female assistant replied that they usually went went out to eat, drink, or go to the movies together. However, Kang-hoon didn't like going to the movies at all, so he decided to go to dance class with Yoon-seo. When the two of them arrived, the close friend hurriedly introduced Kang-hoon as Yoon-seo's boyfriend. Sang-hyun politely greeted Kang-hoon. Sang-hyun said that he had never heard that Yoon-seo had a boyfriend. Kang-hoon immediately explained that his girlfriend had a habit of keeping special things secret, and that was her charm. After saying that, Kang-hoon did not forget to hug Yoon-seo. Kang-hoon whispered in her ear to remind her that she had not washed her hair today. Yoon-seo hurriedly questioned Kang-hoon that the contract did not include these intimate actions. Hearing that, Kang-hoon just smiled. He affirmed that the important thing was to make everyone believe that the two were in love. After Kang-hoon declared his sovereignty, he reminded Yoon-seo to study hard. Then Kang-hoon left. After getting back in the car, Kang-hoon picked up the bouquet of flowers he had just bought and angrily threw it aside. Kang-hoon imagined Yoon-seo holding hands and dancing with Sang-hyun. However, what Kang-hoon could not have expected was that before he could even wait for Yoon-seo to finish studying, he met the person pursuing him. Kang-hoon hurriedly called Yoon-seo and told her to come save him. Yoon-seo reluctantly went to Kang-hoon. When the girl saw Yoon-seo, she was immediately surprised. She said that she did not expect Kang-hoon to casually like someone like that. Then the girl asked Yoon-seo how old Yoon-seo was and why Yoon-seo called her younger sister. When she knew that Yoon-seo was 30 years old, the girl showed her disdain. Yoon-seo angrily asked the young girl that it was so late and why she had not gone home yet. At this moment, Sang-hyun came and gave Yoon-seo the thing that Yoon-seo had forgotten in the gym. The young girl saw that and immediately thought that Yoon-seo was having an affair, so she loudly criticized Yoon-seo. However, Kang-hoon stopped the girl. Then the girl thought that Kang-hoon wanted to trick her, so he asked Yoon-seo to pretend to be his lover. The girl asked the two to prove that they were in love. To prove their love, Kang-hoon pulled Yoon-seo close to him. He turned to kiss Yoon-seo. At this moment, the young girl told him to stop and blamed him for being too much. After the girl left, Kang-hoon asked Yoon-seo why Sang-hyun always appeared around Yoon-seo. Yoon-seo quickly pushed Kang-hoon's hand away and said that they were just friends. At the same time, she also asked him if he had never heard of the concept of best friends of the opposite sex. Kang-hoon immediately declared that she was not allowed to pay attention to anyone else except him. On the way to take Yoon-seo home, Kang-hoon saw her falling asleep on the chair, so he stopped the car on the side of the road. When he was about to brush her hair away, she suddenly woke up. Kang-hoon quickly withdrew his hand. He reminded her not to sleep in front of others. Yoon-seo did not understand and asked why. He immediately said that her sleeping position was ugly and that only he liked that appearance. Hearing Kang-hoon say that, Yoon-seo immediately hiccuped. She only hiccuped when standing in front of the person she had a crush on. The next day, the girl who was chasing Kang-hoon suddenly appeared at Yoon-seo's hospital. The girl walked into the clinic as if she was going to battle. Yoon-seo refused to give up. She put her hands on her hips and glared at the other person. On this side, Kang-hoon was in a meeting when he suddenly heard the phone ring. He looked around the table and asked everyone if they had forgotten to put it on silent mode. The secretary next to him gently reminded Kang-hoon that it was his phone. Kang-hoon had no choice but to tell his subordinates to take a break. Everyone obeyed and left immediately. When there was no one left, Kang-hoon picked up the phone. Yoon-seo informed him that the girl had come to Yoon-seo's clinic. Kang-hoon replied that Yoon-seo could do whatever she wanted because she was his girlfriend anyway. Yoon-seo turned to look at the girl. Yoon-seo told Kang-hoon that the girl was young but very rude. Hearing Yoon-seo say that, Kang-hoon immediately laughed. He said that she was also very upset. The other girl used a contemptuous look to question Yoon-seo. The girl wanted to know if Yoon-seo would marry Kang-hoon or not. Yoon-seo replied that there was nothing that could be said in advance. The two were just in love and had no intention of getting married. The other girl immediately told Yoon-seo that if so, then stop loving, because the result of love is marriage. After that, Yoon-seo did not hesitate to criticize the other girl. Seeing the other girl angrily leave, Yoon-seo revealed a winner's smile. Kang-hoon was in a meeting when the phone rang again. Yoon-seo happily informed him of the victory. Yoon-seo boasted that she had taught the other girl a lesson. After hearing that, he smiled gently. The secretary also looked at him and smiled meaningfully. Immediately after, Kang-hoon returned to his cold expression. He told Yoon-seo that he was busy working and then he immediately hung up. That night, the two of them went to the movies together. Yoon-seo watched the movie and laughed the whole time, while Kang-hoon sat next to her, looking at her passionately. After watching the movie, she took out her phone to take a photo with him. Kang-hoon didn't understand why she did that. She explained that every time they met, they would take a photo, so they would keep the moments of their date. If anyone asked about their relationship, she would have evidence to prove it. It was was like receiving a stamp in the daily passbook. When she looked at the photo of the two of them, she criticized him for not cooperating with her. However, Kang-hoon seemed annoyed and upset. Seeing that, Yoon-seo had no choice but to quietly look at her phone alone. At this time, Kang-hoon received a call, so he went out to answer it. When Yoon-seo saw him smiling and talking on the phone, she couldn't help but wonder why he couldn't smile like that when he was with her. After returning home, she printed out the photo of their first date and pasted it in the notebook. Just as she was about to paste a heart on it, she felt something was wrong. She wondered why she was so happy, but she didn't forget to send the photo to Kang-hoon. Kang-hoon looked at the photo and remembered what she said in the car. He immediately wanted to try to smile. However, he tried for a long time without success, so he threw his phone aside. The next day, Yoon-seo had a nosebleed. Her best friend immediately asked her to run away and hang out with him. Surprisingly, Kang-hoon on this side also encountered a similar situation. He received a text message from Yoon-seo in which she complained that dating him every day exhausted her. That night, when Yoon-seo and her best friend were sitting in the hospital reading and resting, the light bulb suddenly flashed. Yoon-seo intended to call the building manager, but her best friend said that she didn't see anyone in the building manager's office, but this light bulb needs to be fixed. So the best friend picked up Yoon-seo's phone and sent a message to someone. Just a few minutes later, Kang-hoon rushed over. Kang-hoon wondered why Yoon-seo texted him that she had successfully swapped boyfriends. Yoon-seo looked confused, not understanding what Kang-hoon meant. She looked at her cunning friend. Then Kang-hoon helped Yoon-seo fix the broken light bulb. Seeing him clumsily not knowing what to do, Yoon-seo felt frustrated and told him to go down. Yoon-seo climbed up to fix the light bulb herself. While fixing it, Yoon-seo blamed Kang-hoon. She blamed him for being a man, but not knowing how to fix a light bulb. After just a few moves, Yoon-seo fixed the light bulb. She happily showed off her achievement to him, but unexpectedly, she slipped and fell straight into Kang-hoon's arms. Their lips accidentally touched. At that moment, Yoon-seo's best friend turned around. The two quickly pretended that nothing had happened. Kang-hoon explained that he didn't mean to do it, and it was just an accident. The best friend thought that this was a normal action of couples in love, so she could understand. However, Yoon-seo was upset and said that what kind of man was he that he couldn't help her. Then the friend tactfully left to give them some privacy. Kang-hoon deliberately asked Yoon-seo if that was her first kiss. Yoon-seo quickly affirmed that it wasn't because she had done it many times in kindergarten. Kang-hoon immediately reminded her that she shouldn't daydream about love with him because of that kiss. Yoon-seo also reminded him not to daydream about her. Just like that, Yoon-seo's precious first kiss was taken away by Kang-hoon. But thanks to that, Yoon-seo knew that her mouth wasn't just for eating. After finishing work, Kang-hoon received a text message from Yoon-seo. In the text message, she reminded him to go to bed early and wished him good night. Originally, Kang-hoon intended to text her back, but he hesitated for a while and did not send another text message. After sending the text message, Yoon-seo kept waiting for Kang-hoon's response. She looked at her phone for a long time, but did not receive any reply from him. She thought that he had completely ignored her. The next day, Kang-hoon went to the veterinary clinic and saw the notice of full closure. Not long after, Yoon-seo received a text message from Kang-hoon. After thinking for a while, she decided not to reply to his text message, so Kang-hoon stood outside waiting for a long time, but did not receive a reply. The next day, he kept calling her, but no one answered. Yoon-seo then received a warning message from Kang-hoon. He emphasized that if she continued to violate the contract, he would consider her a broken contract, and he would deal with her according to state regulations. If she did not want to go to jail, she had to answer his phone. Immediately after, a call from Kang-hoon came in. Yoon-seo had to answer his call. Kang-hoon then announced that he would take her to a dinner party. Yoon-seo wondered why he had to take her to that party. Kang-hoon immediately explained that she was his contract lover. After a while of dressing up, Yoon-seo suddenly transformed into a different person. Kang-hoon held her hand, and together they walked into the party. Coincidentally, Mu-ra was also present. Mu-ra said that Yoon-seo did not deserve to be at this party. Mu-ra also teased that the clothes Yoon-seo was wearing were fake. At this moment, Kang-hoon approached Yoon-seo. He told Mu-ra that this was his girlfriend. Mu-ra immediately reached out to shake hands with Kang-hoon, but he didn't want to shake hands with Mu-ra. Mu-ra felt shy, so she turned to glare at Yoon-seo. Mu-ra said that this was Yoon-seo's first time attending a party, so she didn't know anything. Whoever was Yoon-seo's boyfriend must have had a hard time. Kang-hoon also didn't hesitate to admit that he really had a hard time, because he just wanted Yoon-seo to be by his side. However, Yoon-seo always ran away somewhere, making him feel very worried. After dealing with the other friend, Yoon-seo originally intended to enjoy the food. Unexpectedly, her love rival came. The young girl criticized Yoon-seo's way of eating as if she was starving. The girl thought that eating cheating like that would make Kang-hoon embarrassed. Yoon-seo couldn't stand it anymore, so she scolded the young girl. At this moment, Kang-hoon came over. When Yoon-seo wanted to leave, Kang-hoon called Yoon-seo back. Yoon-seo asked Kang-hoon if their relationship would end when the contract ended. Yoon-seo hoped that the contract would end quickly because she didn't want to go to places like this again. Yoon-seo left her high heels and was about to leave, but Kang-hoon suddenly pulled her back and kissed her. On the way home, Kang-hoon told her to forget everything that had happened today because it was just his mistake. Hearing Kang-hoon speak so irresponsibly, her eyes filled with tears. The video recording the two kissing was gradually spreading online. The secretary answered the phone until his hand was tired. In the office, Kang-hoon watched the video and felt sad because last night he had said such harsh words to Yoon-seo. When Kang-hoon heard the voice of the secretary coming, he quickly turned off the video. Then he reminded the secretary not to let the video above affect Yoon-seo. On this side, Yoon-seo wanted to forget the annoying things of yesterday, so she went to Sang-hyun's dance club. She started dancing wildly, but because she was not careful, she sprained her ankle. Sang-hyun carefully checked her wound. At this moment, Kang-hoon suddenly appeared and asked Sang-hyun to let go. Sang-hyun explained that Yoon-seo's leg was injured, so he just wanted to treat her wound. Kang-hoon stepped forward and held Yoon-seo in his arms. Kang-hoon warned Sang-hyun that she was his girlfriend, so he would take care of her himself. After returning to the car, Yoon-seo questioned Kang-hoon why she did that. Kang-hoon arrogantly said why she dared to get hurt without his permission. She even let another man touch her leg. Yoon-seo angrily asked him if only Party B was allowed to make mistakes, but she wasn't allowed to make mistakes. Or was it because he was the master that he could do whatever he wanted? Then he ended by saying that it was just a mistake. Kang-hoon slowly affirmed that it wasn't a mistake. However, when Yoon-seo asked again, Kang-hoon said that he didn't like to repeat anything. Then he drove away. Kang-hoon took Yoon-seo to the hospital and bandaged her wound. While he was wrapping her bandage, she looked around the new hospital and said that she missed her old clinic very much. When Kang-hoon heard that, he forcefully wrapped the bandage, making Yoon-seo startled. Then he sternly told her that she wasn't allowed to think nonsense. Without his permission, she wasn't allowed to go anywhere. Yoon-seo was momentarily silenced by his stern words. Kang-hoon was afraid that he would not be able to contact Yoon-seo again, so he frequently texted her to ask where she was. Yoon-seo felt tormented by Kang-hoon's question of, "Where are you?" The next day, while Yoon-seo was looking for a place to stay, she received a call from Kang-hoon asking where she was. When he knew that she was looking for a place to stay, Kang-hoon immediately asked her to move in with him. Yoon-seo thought his thoughts were crazy. However, Kang-hoon told her that without his permission, she could not go anywhere. Kang-hoon then instructed his secretary not to let Yoon-seo find a place to stay. For that reason, Yoon-seo received a call from the landlord informing her that they refused to rent. When she saw Kang-hoon appear, Yoon-seo seemed to have somewhat guessed the problem. Once again, Kang-hoon asked Yoon-seo to come live with him. However, when she received this invitation, she felt angry. She later told him that she regretted saving him that night. If she had known that things would turn out like this, she would have pretended not to see him that day. Yoon-seo said that she only lives with the person she loves. She also asked him if he liked her so much that he wanted to live with her. Kang-hoon only told her that no matter where she went, he would buy it. On this earth, the only place she could go to was his house. Yoon-seo couldn't understand why he went to this extent. Kang-hoon confessed that he was starting to have feelings for her. He asked her if she also had feelings for him. He asked her to think about the offer, but he also reminded her not to make him wait too long. After returning home, Kang-hoon went to the room he had prepared for Yoon-seo. He was sure that Yoon-seo would love this room because he had decorated it himself. Yoon-seo felt stuck, so she called two friends to come drink with her. She drank so much that she didn't know anything. Kang-hoon's call suddenly appeared on the screen. After arriving, Kang-hoon saw Yoon-seo in a drunken state. Kang-hoon angrily blamed Sang-hyun for letting Yoon-seo get so drunk while they were still sober. Sang-hyun helplessly explained that he couldn't stop her. Every time she drinks, she gets drunk like that. Kang-hoon arrogantly told Yoon-seo to get up and go home, but he didn't expect that Yoon-seo still wanted to drink more. Faced with this drunken state, Kang-hoon directly picked her up and left. When Kang-hoon had only taken a few steps, she reached out to massage his muscles. She then massaged them while calling Sang-hyun's name. Kang-hoon was already jealous of Sang-hyun. Now he heard her calling his rival's name, so he couldn't control himself anymore. He roughly let go of her hand, causing Yoon-seo to fall to the ground. Then he told her to go home by herself. However, when Kang-hoon had just left a few steps, a man approached and asked her to go drinking. Kang-hoon had no other choice but to turn back. The other man hurriedly left. At this moment, Yoon-seo suddenly recognized Kang-hoon. She collapsed into his arms. This made him feel happy inside. A second later, Yoon-seo vomited all over him. Kang-hoon had a hard time bringing her home. He sat tiredly on the sofa, panting. He looked at her, both angry and sympathetic. Early the next morning, Yoon-seo woke up. When she raised her head and saw Kang-hoon sleeping next to her, she screamed in panic, causing Kang-hoon to wake up with a start. After she remembered everything, it was Kang-hoon's turn to angrily demand to terminate the contract with her. He also threatened to give Yoon-seo exactly 3 days to leave the hospital. After saying that, he angrily left. Only then did Yoon-seo calm down. She immediately chased after him and begged him. She asked if he could give her another chance, but Kang-hoon didn't pay any attention to her. After he snatched her phone from her hand, he arrogantly turned around and left. Yoon-seo quickly called him back and asked why he terminated the contract. She affirmed that she had always done well as his girlfriend. She didn't know what she had done last night to make him angry. Kang-hoon immediately said that she dared to take advantage of his absence to go drinking with another man. After Kang-hoon reminded her of everything, Yoon-seo gradually remembered what happened last night. She begged him to give her another chance. Because her mood was not good last night, everything happened like that. Kang-hoon, with a cold face, asked her why she didn't look for him when she was sad, but instead went to find Sang-hyun. After saying that, he put his hands in his pockets and left. Kang-hoon looked at Yoon-seo, who was eating instant noodles. He asked her if the instant noodles with tears were delicious. Yoon-seo replied that it had nothing to do with him. However, Kang-hoon said that she was still his girlfriend. Yoon-seo asked him if he had already ended the contract. Kang-hoon replied that what would happen if it hadn't ended yet. Seeing Kang-hoon leave, Yoon-seo put down the box of noodles. She stood up and told him that she could do anything he wanted. When he saw that his plan had succeeded, Kang-hoon revealed a satisfied smile. He turned back and asked her if she could really do anything. After Yoon-seo confirmed that, Kang-hoon asked her to move to his house right now. The silly Yoon-seo was finally in Kang-hoon's hands. That night, Yoon-seo and Sang-hyun were happily dancing together. Suddenly, Kang-hoon walked up and grabbed her hand. Sang-hyun got angry and told Kang-hoon that interrupting others while dancing was an unconscious act. However, Kang-hoon said that he didn't care about that. After saying that, he raised his hand and pulled Yoon-seo into his arms. At the same time, he reminded her to focus on him. Then, the two of them danced together and finished the dance perfectly. Yoon-seo then asked Kang-hoon what would happen if he didn't want her to leave when they moved in together. Kang-hoon laughed and said that it was impossible. However, when Yoon-seo asked what would happen if she didn't want him to leave, Kang-hoon could only answer that he hadn't decided anything yet. But the important thing is that he wants to try living with her. He also advises her to be honest with herself for once. In the end, Yoon-seo had to carry her luggage and go to Kang-hoon's house. When she saw the large house, she couldn't help but exclaim. Kang-hoon led her to the room he had prepared for her. He told her a few things before leaving. Yoon-seo carefully observed the room that belonged to her. She stood up on the bed and danced. When she was tired, she lay down and rolled around for a while. A second later, Kang-hoon opened the door and walked in. When he saw Kang-hoon, the smile on her face suddenly disappeared. Kang-hoon saw her embarrassment and quickly closed the door and left. At night, it suddenly rained heavily outside with thunder and lightning. Yoon-seo was scared by the thunder and screamed. Kang-hoon was sitting in the study when he heard her scream. He quickly ran over. The two met in the living room. Yoon-seo was scared and hugged Kang-hoon tightly. Faced with this sudden hug, Kang-hoon didn't know what to do. He stood still on the spot. He felt Yoon-seo's body shaking uncontrollably. Kang-hoon originally wanted to comfort her, but in the end he pulled his hand back. He asked Yoon-seo if she could let go of him. Yoon-seo's eyes widened at this moment, realizing that his action was too intimate. She immediately jumped out of his arms. Kang-hoon had just brought Yoon-seo back to the room when a thunderclap sounded again, causing Yoon-seo to be scared and quickly huddle against him. Kang-hoon helplessly told her that she was a coward. Yoon-seo heard that and immediately jumped away. She then shook her head and said that she was not a coward. When Kang-hoon left the room, he appeared extremely worried. He told himself that he almost couldn't control himself. The next morning, Kang-hoon prepared a delicious breakfast and waited for Yoon-seo to arrive. While eating, she praised his cooking skills. Kang-hoon told Yoon-seo that he would be in charge of cooking breakfast and she would cook dinner, do the laundry, and clean the bathroom. Yoon-seo asked him suspiciously if he insisted on forcing her to come here because he wanted her to become his nanny. She offered to send him living expenses, but Kang-hoon didn't need her spare change. After a while of talking back and forth. The two decided to add terms to the contract. The first was to keep it a secret, and the second was to not touch or have physical contact. Hearing this, Kang-hoon immediately brought up what happened last night when she hugged him. Yoon-so said that it was just an accident. When she was scared, she had to hug something, so last night she just used him as a body pillow. Seeing Yoon-so talking non-stop like that, Kang-hoon suddenly couldn't help but look at her lips. Then, he made a condition that she couldn't go to dance class anymore. After breakfast, Kang-hoon drove her to the hospital. Yoon-so got out of the car and happily waved goodbye to him. Kang-hoon felt extremely happy. He wanted to look at her through the rearview mirror for a bit. Unexpectedly, he caught a sight of Yoon-so standing and chatting happily with Sang-hyun. Kang-hoon wanted to stop the car to look a bit more, but the car behind honked loudly. Kang-hoon could only helplessly drive away. Yoon-so was sitting and looking at the dinner dishes when she suddenly received a phone call from Kang-hoon. He asked her why she was meeting another man. Yoon-so quickly explained that Sang-hyun was going abroad and came to say goodbye to her. Kang-hoon was so happy that he wanted to jump up. Then he told her that this was really worth celebrating. Yoon-so asked him what time he got off work. She would prepare dinner for him. However, Kang-hoon pretended to be arrogant and said that he did not know. Yoon-so immediately wondered why someone did not know when he got off work. Kang-hoon replied that it was the fate of a director, so she could not understand. When he knew that his future wife would cook for him, Kang-hoon happily shook his head a few times. This action made the secretary standing outside feel scared. After work, Yoon-so took the vacuum cleaner and went into Kang-hoon's room to clean. Because she had worked hard all day, after a while of cleaning, she fell asleep on his bed. When Kang-hoon got off work and opened the door to his room, he immediately saw his future wife sleeping on his bed. Seeing her lovely appearance, he immediately reached out to stroke her cheek. But as soon as he touched her face, Yoon-so jumped up. She quickly smoothed her hair and left his room. After Yoon-so left, Kang-hoon felt his heart beat strongly. His feelings for her grew more and more. Yoon-so stood outside the door and felt her heart pounding. The next day, Yoon-so was busy with her work until late at night. After Kang-hoon finished work and returned home, she was nowhere to be found. He immediately called her, but no one answered. Then Yoon-so texted him to explain that there was too much work at the hospital today, so she couldn't go home. When he knew that she didn't go with anyone else, Kang-hoon smiled and told her to take care of her health. While eating breakfast, he suddenly remembered Yoon-so. When he saw the empty chair next to Kang-hoon, he couldn't help but feel unfamiliar. A few days later, Yoon-so kept saying she was busy, so she couldn't go home. This more or less affected Kang-hoon's mood. Kang-hoon kept complaining to the secretary that Yoon-so was the only veterinarian in the world. There was only one pet hospital. Why was she so busy that she didn't even have time to meet him? Hearing that, the secretary could only smile awkwardly. Then the secretary told Kang-hoon that if he wanted to be Yoon-so's boyfriend, he needed to learn to understand. If Yoon-so couldn't find him, then why didn't he go find her himself? After hearing that, Kang-hoon suddenly woke up. That night, Kang-hoon decided to go to the hospital. When he got there, he saw a cat on the table. He slowly walked to the sofa where Yoon-so was dozing off. He slowly supported Yoon-so's face so that she could lean on his shoulder. A second later, Yoon-so was awakened by the ringing of her phone. He reminded her not to fall asleep like that. He wondered why she wouldn't listen. Then Kang-hoon gradually approached her. This kiss was not an accident. After work, the two went home together. Kang-hoon called Yoon-so back. He felt it would be a pity if they went inside now, so the two found a place to sit down and talk to each other. Kang-hoon started teasing Yoon-so. He said sweet words to her and gradually approached her. Yoon-so realized his intention. She reminded him that he was not allowed to violate the terms of intimate contact when indoors, but he insisted that this was outside the house. Then he kissed her on the head. From the secretary, Kang-hoon knew that his younger brother had returned to the country. He angrily asked the secretary about his younger brother's current whereabouts. The secretary gently informed that Kang-jun had returned home. Upon hearing that, Kang-hoon stood up. On the other side, Yoon-so had just returned home from buying food. Suddenly, she heard the voice of a strange man. She cautiously asked who he was. He didn't answer directly, but just shook his head. Yoon-so followed his gaze to the family photo hanging on the wall. After comparing for a while, she also recognized his identity. At this time, Kang-hoon came home and saw the two of them standing and talking to each other, and they were also cooking together. Kang-hoon quickly called Yoon-so to come closer to him, but Kang-jun grabbed Yoon-so's hand and held her back. Kang-jun said that she should finish making the rice cakes. Kang Hoon angrily stepped forward and loudly told his younger brother to quickly let go. So Yoon-seo stood between the two men who were struggling. That evening, Kang Hoon chased Kang Jun out to stay at a hotel. However, Kang Jun said that his card had been locked and he didn't want to stay at a hotel when he still had a room here. Then, Kang Jun stood up and went to his room. Kang Hoon warned Yoon-seo not to look directly at Kang Jun. Yoon-seo didn't understand why. She wasn't allowed to do that. She thought Kang Jun was Kang Hoon's younger brother after all. But for Kang Hoon, Kang Jun was also a man. Yoon-seo laughed when she heard that, but when she saw Kang Hoon's expression, she realized he was serious. Kang Hoon sat down opposite Yoon-seo. He said that from the moment he woke up, he would only look at her, so she could only look at him alone. The next morning, Kang Jun saw his brother and future sister-in-law going to work together. Kang Jun immediately thought of something. Sure enough, not long after, the secretary came to tell Kang Hoon that Kang Jun had cut his hand with a knife and was bleeding. However, Kang Jun went to the veterinary clinic for a checkup. Kang Hoon immediately changed his expression after hearing that. On this side, Kang Jun was using an extremely pitiful expression to ask Yoon-seo to bandage him. Yoon-seo helplessly told Kang Jun that this was the veterinary clinic. Kang Jun didn't care. He said that the veterinary clinic was fine. Didn't she also treat Kang Hoon? Seeing Kang Jun's pitiful expression, Yoon-seo finally agreed to treat his wound. After finishing the bandage, Kang Jun suddenly approached Yoon-seo, startling her. Yoon-seo suddenly remembered Kang Hoon's instructions that she wasn't to look Kang Jun in the eye. Only then did she understand those words. Then she smiled and told Kang Jun that she had to go to work. At the same time, she also expressed her desire to chase away the customer. While Yoon-seo was preparing to give the dog an injection, Kang Jun ran in with a bright smile on his lips. Yoon-seo immediately told Kang Jun to leave quickly. Kang Jun shouldn't scare the dog. Sure enough, something happened right after that. When Kang Hoon ran to the scene, he saw Kang Jun and the wound on Yoon-seo's arm. Kang Hoon angrily pushed Kang Jun away and looked at Yoon-seo's bleeding arm. Kang Hoon was so angry that he grabbed his younger brother's collar and questioned Kang Jun about what he had done. Kang Jun was scared and told Kang Hoon to calm down. No matter how angry he was, Kang Hoon shouldn't hit his younger brother. Kang Hoon was really thinking about it. At this moment, Yoon-seo stopped Kang Hoon. She told the two of them to go out. After returning home, Kang Hoon advised Yoon-seo that she shouldn't go to work for the time being. She should stay home and rest to recover. Kang Hoon also told her not to get hurt again because he would be heartbroken. While the two were reading, Yoon-seo felt hot because her hair was loose. Seeing that, Kang Hoon immediately went to help her. His hair tying motion was not skillful, so he only made Yoon-seo's hair more messy. He also blew on her neck, making Yoon-seo shiver. After a while of struggling, he still couldn't finish tying her hair. The next day, Kang Hoon was getting dressed and getting ready to go to work. His handsome and dashing appearance made Yoon-seo unable to take her eyes off him. At that moment, Kang Jun brought a tie to Yoon-seo and asked her to tie it for him. Yoon-seo had never learned how to tie a tie before, so she wanted to ask Kang Hoon for help. But surprisingly, both boys refused the idea in unison. With no other choice, Yoon-seo had to try tying Kang Jun's tie. She carefully placed the tie behind Kang Jun's neck. Kang Hoon tried to control his anger. When they arrived at the company, Kang Jun kept bragging to his brother about the tie that Yoon-seo had tied for him. Unexpectedly, Kang Hoon grabbed the tie and pulled it out. Kang Jun sarcastically asked if his brother was that insecure. Kang Jun also asked if Kang Hoon was afraid that she would like Kang Jun like Kang Hoon's ex-girlfriend. Kang Hoon pushed his brother against the elevator wall. The two brothers looked at each other with their eyes full of hatred. At this moment, the elevator door opened. Kang Hoon immediately took his brother's tie off his collar and left. During lunch break, Kang Jun accidentally saw his ex-girlfriend being proposed to. Then, Kang Jun saw his brother and Yoon-seo talking sweetly to each other. Kang Jun felt extremely uncomfortable. Kang Jun went to Kang Hoon and asked his brother why everyone was so happy, while he was the only one suffering. However, Kang Hoon only focused on his work. He did not pay attention to his brother. When he got home, Kang Hoon happily leaned on Yoon-seo's back. He wanted to wait for her to make dinner for him. Seeing that Kang Hoon seemed hungry, Yoon-seo immediately fed him a piece of food. After tasting the food, Kang Hoon immediately carried her to the kitchen table. He wanted her to promise him that she would never leave him and that she must always be by his side. Yoon-seo saw Kang Hoon talking about this issue over and over again, so she could only nod in agreement. At that moment, Kang Hoon started flirting with her. He said that he wanted to eat something else more than dinner. She immediately fell into the trap. She asked him what he wanted to eat. He replied that it was her. While Kang Jun was very angry, so he looked for alcohol to relieve his emotions. Unexpectedly, when it was time to pay, the waiter informed her that Kang Jun's card had been completely blocked. Kang Jun had no choice but to call Kang Hoon for help. Kang Hoon was happily with Yoon So when he suddenly received a call from his younger brother. Kang Hoon didn't want to pay attention to it, so he put down the phone. He had no intention of going to help Kang Jun. Kang Jun couldn't wait any longer, so he kept calling. After taking Kang Jun home, Kang Hoon immediately threw Kang Jun on the sofa. In his drunken state, Kang Jun warned Yoon So that if she didn't leave Kang Hoon quickly, she would regret it. Hearing that, Yoon So both hit and warned Kang Jun that if Kang Jun touched her boyfriend again, she would not let it go. When Kang Hoon heard Yoon So say that he was her boyfriend, he could not believe his ears. Yoon So was also surprised and turned to look at Kang Hoon. She saw that Kang Hoon seemed both excited and blushing. Yoon So also gradually felt her face getting hot. She quickly covered her face and ran out of the room. Kang Jun asked if his brother was very happy. However, Kang Hoon just told his brother to shut up. The next day, Yoon So invited Kang Hoon and his brother to go wash the sheets together. After putting the sheets in the basin, Yoon So told the two of them to use their feet to stomp on them to clean them. However, Kang Jun absolutely resisted. Kang Jun thought that even though the maid and the washing machine had already done this job. After saying that, Kang Jun asked his brother to help him. But when Kang Hoon saw Yoon So's serious expression, he felt he couldn't object anymore. Kang Hoon had no choice but to push his younger brother's hand away and step into the basin. Seeing Kang Jun still standing outside, she asked him why he hadn't gone in to wash the blanket yet. Kang Jun shook his head and laughed as he stepped back. As a result, Kang Jun was still forced by his brother to step into the basin, and so the two of them worked together to wash the blanket. Then Yoon So told them to wring the blanket dry to dry. The two men couldn't wring the blanket out. Yoon So started to blame Kang Hoon again. She suspected that his muscles were just for show. Faced with his girlfriend's doubts, Kang Hoon immediately showed off. The blanket was finally hung up to dry. Yoon So felt comfortable. She stretched, but water immediately sprayed onto her face. It turned out that Kang Jun sprayed water on her. Seeing his girlfriend being bullied, Kang Hoon immediately picked up the water hose to counterattack. A fight broke out. The discord between Kang Hoon and Kang Jun gradually disappeared thanks to the appearance of Yoon So. While they were happily participating in the game, Kang Hoon's mother suddenly appeared. After a clear interrogation, Kang Hoon's mother was not satisfied with Yoon So's ordinary family situation. The mother used the excuse of wanting to chat with her two sons to chase Yoon So away. Yoon So also did not want to hear her criticize her anymore, so she politely said goodbye and left. Kang Hoon immediately chased after her. The younger brother also came out to speak well of Yoon So. This made the mother even angrier. Then she heard the sound of a cat meowing in the house. She discovered that there was a room for Yoon So here. At this time, her anger really exploded. She ordered Kang Jun to immediately take her brother back. Kang Hoon took Yoon So to the veterinary hospital. Seeing Yoon So still wearing house slippers, Kang Hoon could not help but feel heartbroken and took her hand. Kang Hoon promised her that this would not happen again. Kang Hoon also hoped that she would not leave him like today. Yoon So remembered the scene of her decisive departure. She immediately nodded in agreement with Kang Hoon. When Yoon So leaned on his shoulder, Kang Hoon suddenly realized that she had a fever, so Kang Hoon decided to stay and take care of her. She did not want to eat because she was not hungry. At this moment, Kang Hoon's mother called. Kang Hoon did not want to answer, so he hung up. Yoon So did not want the conflict between him and his mother to deepen, so she advised him to go home and come here tomorrow. Kang Hoon conveniently got her some things and the cat. When Kang Hoon returned home, his mother had cleaned Yoon So's room. His mother accidentally discovered the dating contract between him and Yoon So. Now his mother knew that he chose Yoon So as his girlfriend, just to avoid going on a blind date. She held the contract and scolded Kang Hoon. Kang Hoon explained that although his relationship with Yoon So was just a contract at first, he now wanted to marry her. Kang Hoon's mother knew his personality well, so she decided to try another way to convince him to break up with Yoon So. She took out a contract and said that if Yoon So really cared about Kang Hoon and agreed to sign this contract, she would not object to their marriage. Kang Hoon looked at the prenuptial agreement contract. He wanted to call Yoon So to discuss this matter. However, in the end, he still could not say it. The next day, when he went to the hospital to visit her, he saw a man taking care of her. He went in angrily, intending to question her a bit. Fortunately, Yoon-soo quickly introduced that this handsome young man was her younger brother. His name was Yoon-soo. When Kang-hoon knew that Yoon-soo was his future brother-in-law, he immediately changed his attitude. He quickly held Yoon-soo's hand and introduced himself. When Yoon-soo knew he was the chairman of LK Group, he immediately said that his family would definitely object to their relationship. Hearing that, Yoon-soo hurriedly sent Kang-hoon away. She conveniently asked what he wanted to tell her last night. However, Kang-hoon didn't know how to start the conversation, so he had to make an appointment with her another day, and he would tell her. The mother also understood her son's personality, so she personally went to see Yoon-soo to talk. The mother told Yoon-soo that if Yoon-soo wanted to be with Kang-hoon, Yoon-soo would have to pay a price. Then the mother gave Yoon-soo a prenuptial contract. The mother said that if she agreed, Yoon-soo would have to sign this contract every year. Otherwise, Yoon-soo would have to break up with Kang-hoon. However, Yoon-soo insisted that she would not marry Kang-hoon. At this moment, Kang-hoon arrived. Seeing Kang-hoon, the mother immediately asked Yoon-soo to repeat what she had just said. Yoon-soo did not hesitate to declare that she would not marry Kang-hoon. Kang-hoon asked if she really did not want to marry him. Yoon-soo said that she did not want to sign this unfair contract. Kang-hoon understood that this was unfair to Yoon-soo, but he was also facing his own difficulties, so he hoped that Yoon-soo could give in a little this time. Yoon-soo could not even believe what she had just heard from Kang-hoon's mouth, so she refused to sign the contract. Kang-hoon wanted her to be patient for a year. After a year, they could live together as husband and wife. Yoon-soo asked Kang-hoon what if their relationship ended after a year. Kang-hoon believed that this was completely impossible. Although she didn't answer directly, he knew her answer by looking at her determined expression. He thought that she wasn't willing to fight for their relationship even once. He immediately told her that if he walked out of here now, it would be the end of the two of them. In the end, Kang-hoon only received silence from Yoon-soo. That meant that she agreed. Kang-hoon left disappointed. However, he didn't know that this decision also caused pain to Yoon-soo. After returning home, Kang-hoon lay on the bed and relaxed, but Yoon-soo's figure still couldn't escape his mind. Kang-hoon even had hallucinations about her. The pain that Yoon-soo had to endure was also great, so she decided to temporarily leave Seoul. The second day after waking up, Kang-hoon received a video from Yoon-soo. In the video, she thanked Kang-hoon for loving her, and that he had also brought her many beautiful memories. She didn't regret meeting him. Kang-hoon knew she had left, so he quickly searched for her. However, Yoon-soo did not reveal her location to her friends. She only left her cat at her best friend's house. Kang-hoon sat alone in Yoon-soo's room. He looked at the love diary she left. He recalled the happy moments between the two. At this time, Yoon-soo was sitting in the garden and enjoying a meal. She asked her younger brother to help clean the pet hospital. Their conversation was overheard by Kang-joon. Kang-joon immediately informed his brother of everything. Yoon-soo was very dissatisfied with her future brother-in-law's actions, but when Yoon-soo heard Kang-hoon say that he could not live without Yoon-soo, Yoon-soo also felt the sincerity of this brother-in-law. Finally, Yoon-soo told Kang-hoon Yoon-soo's current address. In the evening, Yoon-soo sat quietly thinking about the happy moments between her and Kang-hoon. The first breakfast was cooked by Kang-hoon, and the intimate kisses between the two. Every time she remembered, she felt extremely happy. Her phone was also filled with messages that Kang-hoon had come. She couldn't let him go, so she decided to return to Seoul. At this time, Kang-hoon was also looking for her. After Kang-hoon's mother knew that Kang-hoon had gone to find Yoon-soo, she was very angry. However, when she knew that Yoon-soo had saved Kang-hoon's life, she felt regretful for her actions towards Yoon-soo. The secretary also said how sincere Kang-hoon's feelings for Yoon-soo were. The secretary hoped that Kang-hoon's mother would agree to let them be together. After all, the mother was looking forward to having a grandchild, so she began to waver. At the time Yoon-soo was about to get in the car, she received a call from her younger brother. She knew that Kang-hoon had gone to the family garden, so she immediately returned there. At this time Kang-hoon was looking for Yoon-soo in the garden. Finally he saw the figure he missed day and night. The two quickly ran towards each other and gave each other a tight hug. The movie ended here. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, and see you again.